welcome to the Deep Dive. Thanks so much for connecting with us today. We are diving headfirst into something pretty significant, Australia's ambitious path toward its 2035 climate goals. Yeah, our mission here is to look at the modeling, the roadmap, and really understand the specific ways Australia might actually reach that, well, extremely high target. We're talking about the one consulted on by the Climate Change Authority. A massive 75% reduction below 2005 emission levels, and all by 2035.
It's definitely a big goal, and it requires some serious, immediate heavy lifting. When you actually dig into the sources, the first chunk, maybe the first fifth of the journey, around 20% of the total reduction needed. It's kind of front-loaded onto two key strategies: efficient electrification, and alongside that, really aggressive energy efficiency. That's the groundwork, the foundation that needs to be laid, right now.
Wow, 20% just from those two levers. That's huge.
Yeah.
But it also signals, I guess, that the whole energy system needs a fundamental rethink, maybe even a rebuild. What does this foundation actually look like? What sort of scale are we talking about over the next decade or so?
Well, the change needed is pretty revolutionary. Electricity can't just be a secondary power source anymore. It has to become the primary one. Right now, its share of total energy demand is hovering around, 24%?
Okay.
To hit those 2035 targets, that share needs to more than double. It has to soar up to 50%.
Wait, hold on. Doubling the electricity share in just over, 10, 12 years? That sounds like it could be an infrastructure nightmare if it's not managed really carefully.
That's exactly it. And that's precisely why energy efficiency isn't just, a nice to have. It's absolutely mission critical. These efficiency measures, they're modeled to actually offset that huge spike in demand from electrifying buildings and industry. We're talking about maybe up to 46 terawatt hours, or TWH.
That's a TWH offset. Okay.
Yeah. And this kind of high-speed improvement in efficiency, it also ties directly into Australia's CAR-P28 pledge. The one about doubling the rate of energy intensity improvement to 6% between 2025 and 2030. It's all part of an integrated strategy.
Okay, right. So let's unpack this a bit more. If that's the foundational shift we need, where are the biggest, the most impactful opportunities for cutting emissions across the whole economy? Let's maybe leave transport aside for just a moment.
Sure. The sources point to two main sectors where actually the technologies are pretty mature and ready to deliver some really huge cuts. We measure these in megatons of CO2 equivalent, MTCO2e. So the largest single opportunity seems to be the resources sector. That could provide an average annual emissions reduction of about 21 MTCO2e, looking between 2026 and 2050.
And what does that involve, practically speaking?
Things like electrifying heavy mining vehicles, auxiliary processes on mine sites, and also making gas export facilities much more efficient. Then the second largest area is built environment. That offers around 20 MTCO2e in average annual reductions over that same period.
Okay, the built environment. And I think I read that the savings there are heavily driven by homes. Is that right? Why is residential natural gas use, especially in, I think, Victoria, such a big piece of this puzzle?
You're spot on. About 89% of the total gas savings in that sector actually come from residential buildings. And yeah, a huge chunk of that is specifically in Victoria. That's largely down to its, deep historical reliance on gas for things like heating and hot water.
Okay.
But here's the really crucial part. To actually get those residential savings fast enough, the deployment of key electric technologies has to speed up dramatically. We're talking specifically about things like heat pump hot water systems. Their rollout needs to accelerate to be nearly double 1.9 times faster than the current annual installation rates. We basically need to hit the afterburners on getting those installed.
Right, 1.9 times faster. That's a steep curve. Okay, now let's bring transport back in. Here's where it gets really interesting, connecting this infrastructure shift to how people get around. We all know electric vehicles are part of the plan, but is there a specific number, like a hard target for EVs needed to lock in that 2035 goal?
Yes, the modeling is actually quite uncompromising on this specific point. Australia needs 5 million electric vehicles, EVs, on its roads by 2035. That's the figure that the analysis suggests is required to meet that climate ceiling.
5 million EVs.
Okay.
So pulling this all together, what's the core takeaway? It sounds like the pathway is pretty clear, at least on paper. Deep, efficient, and really immediate electrification needs to be rolled out at a truly historic scale. And particularly, it seems, in our homes and in heavy industry, it feels like a massive execution challenge against the clock.
It absolutely is. And that leads to, I think, an important question for you, the listener, to mull over. If the analysis shows we need to get things like home heat pump systems installed almost twice as fast, that 1.9 times number, what role does rapid, really targeted government policy need to play,
Yeah.
especially in unlocking the specific technology adoption in a residential sector that, historically tends to move quite slowly? How do you bridge that gap?
That's a crucial thought, definitely that intersection of technology, policy, and maybe even public acceptance. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into Australia's electric future. As always, feel free to explore the modeling in our sources for yourself.